On News Hour tonight, 97 abductees in Zamfara regain freedom. Police in Katsina recover anti-aircraft ammunition. Less than 18 months to the end of tenure, President Buhari appoints Chief Economic Advisor. And on the foreign scene, tear gas fired at Sudan protests as thousands rally against army. Hello and welcome to Trust TV News Hour. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. The news in full. 97 kidnapped victims have regained freedom in Zamfara state. The kidnapped victims consist of 25 women, including 7 who are pregnant, and 10 children between the ages of 2 and 7. The State Commissioner for Police said the kidnapped victims were rescued unconditionally from 2 local councils of Shinkafi and Tsafi in the state. The report.
The Commissioner of Police in the state, Ayuba Elkanah, said the extensive pressure mounted because of the ongoing military operation around the camp of the bandits' leader Bello Turji, who operates in Shinkafi, Zurmi and Birnim Magaji local government areas of the state, led to the release of the captives.
You may recall that in my previous press briefing, I made mention that police, in collaboration with other security agencies, especially the military, were carrying out extensive operations at various bandits' enclaves. The operations have resulted in a series of arrests of notorious bandits, recovery of sophisticated arms and ammunition, and rescue of kidnapped victims that runs into hundreds. To God be the glory. Today, we are here to brief you on another landmark achievement recorded by the Joint Tactical Operations in Shinkafi and Safi local government area, where 97 kidnapped victims, including 7 pregnant women, 19 2 to 7-month-old babies, and 16 2 to 7-year-old children were rescued unconditionally. The breakdown of number of rescued victims in each of the 2 local government areas are enumerated below. Rescue of 68 kidnapped victims from Shinkafi local government, as against the earlier report by other media were saying 54 or 50 or thereabouts. The number of rescued people are 68.
The Zamfara State's Commissioner for Security and Home Affairs, Muhammad Zafi, who received the kidnapped victims on behalf of the state governor, Bello Muhammad, expressed gratitude to God for the release of the kidnapped victims and promised to provide medical attention to them before reuniting them with their families.
We appreciate all our malams, the ulamas, and the generality of Zamfara, who have solidly been with us in prayers, spending their money in every aspect to ensure that there is peace. May Allah help us to sustain it. I assure you, the Honorable Commissioner, I will hand over these successful brothers and sisters to their father, His Excellency, and I'm very sure they will be received with all the happiness required.
One of the victims speaks with Trust TV News in Hausa language. He said 5 million naira ransom is paid before they are freed.
My name is Muhammad Jika. I am from Kurumi local government area. We were held captive for 23 days. We were being given 1 meal per day. There are days when we don't get any food for 3 days. They gave us food like rice on our hands. The bandits were paid 5 million ransom for 8 of us, and that was how they let us go. When we were held captive, we all sleep in a hole on the ground. They tie our legs with chains. Anytime an helicopter arrives, the bandits don't beat us, the old people, but they beat the younger ones mercilessly.
The release of 68 kidnapped victims by the bandits' leader Bello Turji may not be unconnected with the letter which he had written to the Emir of Shinkafi, seeking for amnesty from the state government so that himself and his commanders can drop their arms and repent from evil acts.
Meanwhile, Katsina State Police Command has recovered 109 anti-aircraft ammunition and arrested 999 suspects in various operations across the state in 2021. Spokesman for the command, SP Gambo Isa, disclosed this in an interview with the News Agency of Nigeria on Tuesday in Katsina. Isa said the command also recovered various arms and ammunition during the period. He listed some of the arms to include 4 GPMG, 44 AK-47 rifles, 1 LAR rifle, 1 G3 rifle, 20 locally made guns, and 689 rounds of 7.62 mm ammunition. 1,243 domestic animals, including 867 cows, 352 sheep, 24 goats, and 1 donkey, were also recovered. The 246 suspects are arrested for rape and unnatural offense, while 63 victims were rescued in 4 reported cases of human trafficking and transferred to the NAPTIP office in Kano State. Residents of Bauchi in northeast Nigeria are optimistic that the country will overcome its numerous challenges currently facing it in the year 2022. Nigeria has faced a myriad of security problems and high cost of essential commodities in the previous year. Trust TV's Adamu Imam reports that the residents want government to galvanize its effort towards ending insecurity.
Despite the current problems of insecurity that bedevil the country at the moment, residents in Bauchi State are still hoping the country will develop if leaders and followers will be sincere and change their mindset while putting the country first.
Call on the government to do more. Yes, they are doing, but maybe what they are doing right now is not good enough. But with more efforts and coordination and plan, we believe, and I believe that we overcome the insecurity that we have faced with in this nation.
God will also give them the ability to develop the country further and to take us out of our present predicament. Yes, that's my hope for the country.
They also spoke in the area of security problems, which they says prayers is #1 remedy, while taking actions collectively.
I'm hoping that Nigeria will be great, Nigeria will be secure, that people will travel freely, things will move around, and nobody will be sleeping eyes open because of the fear of attack that will be coming. Now people can visit their loved ones whenever they want to because they know that their lives are safe and free. And then everyone will be at peace and Nigeria will move to a greater height.
Our prayers are this year will be a better year. They will be more dedicated in securing this country so that we'll be able to go forward, so that our country can be able to be more productive.
There should be peaceful environment for people to worship God, for people to dedicate themselves onto the work that they are supposed to do in order to bring to the progress of this country. That is my desire.
Meanwhile, security experts says the issue of insecurity is beyond the government alone. Others have a role to play, urging them Nigerians are safe and secured wherever they decided to live in the country. Adam Imam, Trust TV News, Bauchi.
And an update has emerged on how an abducted bride-to-be secured her release from kidnappers in Plateau. Faramat Paul was reportedly abducted a few hours to her wedding in Bokos local government area of Plateau State. Adu Musa has an update on the abduction saga.
At about 10:45 p.m. of Sunday, government invaded a house of a pastor in Nguang community of Bokos local government area of Plateau State and abducted Faramat Paul, bride. Forward was expected to pass the night before the wedding ceremony, but unfortunately she was kidnapped by the government and that she was taken to an unknown destination. When contacted, the spokesperson of the Police State Command, ASP Uba Gabriel, on the development, said he could not confirm whether or not the victim was kidnapped. But sources from the area told Trust TV that actually the victim was kidnapped, but she was released after spending a day in the captivity. But you could not confirm how much was paid before her release.
Nigerian Air Force on Tuesday announced major redeployment of its senior officers across different theaters of operations, branches and headquarters. The deployment is coming a few days after retirement of some senior officers and the latest decoration of the newly promoted officers amongst air troops. Air Commodore S.N. Afanga is now the Commander, Air Task Force Operation Haɗin Kai, while Group Captain Dogari Akbayak is now the Air Competent Commander, Operation Thunder Strike. A former Director of Public Relations and Information of the Force, Air Vice Marshal Ibikunle Daramola, is now the Air Officer Commanding GTC Enugu. A statement by the NAF spokesman, Edward Gabwet, explained that the postings and redeployments in the military are routine exercises intended to reinvigorate the services for greater performance, enhanced productivity, operational efficiency and effective service delivery. He noted that the Chief of Air Staff, Air Marshal Oladayo Amao, charged the newly redeployed senior officers to continually task and explore their critical thinking mindsets towards proffering workable solutions and strategies to be deployed against the various security challenges in the country. Kaduna State Government has extended its ban on motorcycles, popularly known as Okada, for commercial and personal purposes till further notice. A statement issued by the State Commissioner, Internal Security, Home Affairs, Samuel Aruan, said the ban remains in place. The initial 3-month ban imposed by the state government elapsed in December 2021. The government took the decision 3 months ago as part of measures to curb banditry in the state. He said the state government will continue to empathize with citizens over the ban and implores all residents to comply fully with these measures in the interest of general security. The Nigerian Security and Civil Defense Corps, NSCDC, in Kwara State has created a female squad to man securities in schools across the state. The newly established squad is set up to checkmate the abduction of students from schools. The state commandant of the NSCDC, Makinde Ayinla, said this in Ilorin, the state capital, while briefing newsmen on the activities of the agency in 2021. The report.
Briefing journalists after a meeting with heads of departments of the agency on preparations to curb crimes in the new year, the state commandant of the NSCDC says a female squad that will keep watch over schools to checkmate students' abduction will be unveiled this month. Some females, he added, have been trained and will be deployed to schools across Kwara State with the permission of the governor.
We are also ready to ensure that we protect all critical national assets and infrastructure. As a result of this, we will try as much as possible this month to ensure that we unveil the female squad who are to be in charge of schools. The Safe School Initiative, we have been able to train some of our female squad, and we are going to unveil them with the permission of His Excellency, so that we curb what we call this adoption of students in the school. We have the statistics of all the schools in the state.
On why it is difficult securing convictions for rape and kidnap suspects, he hinges the blame on culture, religion and family pressure of both victims and suspects who prefer to settle out of court. Most families of kidnapped victims prefer to negotiate without carrying along security agencies, thereby making it difficult to track the kidnappers.
The issue of rape is quite different from state to state. You know, we have a state enactment law, and we have that of the federal government. Most of the time, when I was in Edo, the way they handle that is quite different from the way they handle it in the part of the north. And majorly, the issue of religion has been another major factor that has been hindering prosecution in the area of rape. Stigmatization is the very key something. And when you look at it here in Kwara State, you will realize that if this one is not a member of this, he will be a niece, he will be a grandfather, or they are related in one way or the other.
The commandant said the agency will deal ruthlessly with vandals this year in its efforts to prevent economic sabotage and safeguard government installations and other properties.
Transparency International reported that at least 11,000 women were raped in 2020, and this is despite the Nigerian authorities' declaration of a state of emergency on sexual and gender-based violence. Cases of rape persist at crisis levels, with most survivors denied justice and hundreds of cases of rape going unreported due to pervasive corruption, stigma and victim blaming. Trust TV's Mardia Umar speaks with rape victims on her predicament.
The rate at which women and girls are raped in the country is at an alarming rate. Today we're here in one of the suburbs in the Federal Capital Territory to speak to one of the rape victims, how this incident has affected her life massively.
It happens when we were still in our former area. In the evening, I was at home, so one girl that normally comes to our house come and met my mom and told her that please let me follow and come outside so that we'll stay outside and gist a little. So she kept on disturbing my mom and my mom said no. Then when she came back for the last time, my mom said okay, since she's disturbing her, that she follow her, that let me go with her, but let us not stay. So when we went, was about 4 of us there. So she went and was talking to another boys. Then me and one small girl, our neighbor was now playing outside. So one boy that was living in the chief palace came and called us. We refused to go. Then the girl that come and took me outside now said that we should go and hear what is happening. When we now went, we didn't enter inside the compound. We stand at the gate. We did not know that the boy was hiding beside the gate. When we went, he drew me and the girl inside the gate. The girl now run and come outside, now hold me and drag me inside his room. And then he dragged me and went and removed my clothes. No, there was nobody. Like the gate was 2 gates. Outside was the children rooms. The east side is their father and their mother room. So when you are shouting outside, they will not hear you because the east side gate is far. It's not that close that they will hear you. He now off my clothes. I now slept with me, now have sex with me. And you shout? When he's done, he now said I should go out. When I now go out, I now run and go and told my mom that this is what happened. She now called the girl that went together and asked her. Then the girl now said that she forgot to come and tell her that this is what happened. Then immediately, my mother rushed and bathed me and checked me. We went to a chemist. She bought some drugs for me. Then from there, she now saw some people number and she called them. They now directed her. We went there. So the people connected us with some NGOs and they are the one that was taking care of me. They take me to the hospital. Every time they bought drugs for me that will be taken. After that, I still saw him. He used to come to our compound and still be threatening me and my mother. Because some people used to tell him that my mother is taking action about the case, so he used to come and be threatening my mother. When this happened, I just used to come outside. I just used to be inside, and that time when he talked to me, I don't concentrate there. Even when this happened, I stopped going to school. I was supposed to be in JS2, but because of that, I missed one of my class. I did not go to school.
The case of this minor is one out of the thousands of people that are affected by this hydra-headed monster yearly in Nigeria. But with speaking out, with a lot of enlightenment on where to go, if things like this happened, we will get to the right space where we no longer have to worry what happens to the perpetrators of this heinous crime. Mardia Umar, Trust TV News, Abuja.
And right now we're being joined by Genevieve Johnson, a lawyer and gender activist, to discuss rape cases. in Nigeria. You're welcome to News Update.
Thank you very much.
All right, Master, thank you very much. So let's just go straight into it. The Transparency International said about 11,000 women were raped in Nigeria in 2020. That's indicating a rise in the number of cases. So is it that the cases are actually rising, which means the rape cases are occurring more frequently, or is it just a rise in the reported cases that we actually have?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for having me once more. Actually, the numbers are alarming, and I would say that really they're actually happening.
Okay.
Not just the numbers, not just statistics. Yes, because we have situations whereby these criminal acts occur and they're not heard, they are not seen, and of course, usually they are not said. Now, because there are a whole lot of issues that surround this happening, you know. So, first of all, just for clarity and definition of terms, I will always want to say that rape is a criminal act, you know, that involves a forceful sexual intercourse with a woman or a girl.
Okay.
You know, and this is clearly provided for in the laws of our country.
Okay.
The criminal code, we have the penal code, that's for the northern states. Then we have Violence Against Persons Act that was passed in 2015. Then we have also the Child Rights Act. And of course, the Constitution being the ground norm, you know, that provides, you know, for what I really feel it's one of the very fundamental issues that cause crimes like this to occur, which is gender discrimination. So, you know, all this put together is what we need to take into consideration when, you know, speaking about the subject of rape.
Okay.
And indeed, the numbers have been increasing, and it's very unfortunate. Why? Because I look at it that it seems as though those culprits, you know, those criminals are not really dealt with because the victims are not speaking up.
Yes, that was what was actually going to be my next question. I mean, lots of victims and the victims' families actually claim that some of these alleged rapists are, some even go scot-free without even facing any punishment whatsoever. So how can we do, what can we do to actually curb this?
The thing is, and very importantly so, that when anyone is raped, now usually there are those stigma that indeed cannot really be explained by anyone else except the victim herself, you know, that needs to, you know, be call it pushed aside so that you can face the reality of what has happened, and of which the most important action is to stop that rapist out there from going to the next person.
Exactly.
You know, so it's so important that, you know, both victims, their relatives, and, you know, justice-minded Nigerians that may be aware of such issues that happen should come up and report these issues. Very importantly, I understand that it's good for these victims to have a kind of support system because of the kind of environment and culture we find ourselves. You know, beyond that, they should ensure that even when, you know, they come to that call it they come to the, well, say the realization that they should let the victim go for themselves.
Okay.
They should make sure that they report for the purposes of others out there who might be afflicted by the same criminal.
So apart from of personal forgiveness,
yes,
that should be reported so that the law can actually take its course.
Exactly, its full course.
Yeah, so while we're speaking about the law, lots of states have actually taken some steps to enact laws that can be to guard against or punish rapists. For example, Jigawa State now has enacted a law that provides for castration for convicted rapists. What are your thoughts on this?
Now that's very important. First of all, just like the laws I earlier cited, the criminal code, the penal code, they provide for the punishment of rape. Section 358 of the Criminal Code provides for life imprisonment of any rapist that is convicted. Now, it's important to know that the rapist has to be convicted, and Section 283 of the Penal Code provides for the same punishment of life imprisonment. Yes. So, putting this together, we also have the Child's Right Act providing for the same, and even death penalty for a child when a child is raped. And we applaud the states so far. For instance, going to the Child Right Act, who have actually domesticated this Child Right Act as a law in the states. And we know that Jigawa State, just like you mentioned, is one of the very recent states that have domesticated the Child Rights Act, and that is very commendable, so that these criminals are stopped. Because when we see that these cases are rising, you begin to wonder, is there something that seems to enable, or is there some kind of encouragement somewhere behind that's making the rapists to continue and the numbers to increase? So it's so important that the states, pass those laws. The laws are already there. Just like I mentioned, at least the array of them are there. They have not been exhausted.
Exactly.
So it's so important that we engage these laws. If it's not engaged, then the criminals will always go scot-free. And that is very bad for our system. That's very bad for our society.
So just moving away from the law now, you cited issues like stigma that actually prevents a lot of rape victims from coming forward. Rape and also victim blaming is something that we actually have in the society as well. So what can we do to be able to mitigate that so that rape victims can have the confidence to come forward and report these cases?
There's a lot we need to do. First of all, this information needs to keep, spreading, that every victim should first of all always realize that they have the responsibility to stop that rapist. And this stigma is so bad sometimes that like you just said, the victim blaming thing. The blame usually would go to the victims, like, why were you there? Why were you wearing this?
Yes, exactly.
Why did you do this? And all of those blames keeps reeling out at all the times. And this is one thing that needs to be stopped by means of information like this, reaching out and, educating, letting this, women and girls know that truly this is the right thing about this crime.
This crime, exactly.
And not the other way, not the information, not the cultural, situations we've tried to create around it, and we've tried to pass around it. So it's so important to pass the right information, that it's not, while these things are so important that the victims should, be safe at all times, but it's important to know that at a point that the crime is already committed, the next thing should be to stop that rapist and make sure that
doing it again.
Yes.
All right. So a lot needs to be done, from the laws being enacted, being used accordingly, to the society being effectively informed.
Yes.
All right. So thank you very much for coming on the program.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you.
So that was Genevieve Johnson there, a lawyer and of course a gender activist, giving us her own perspective on rape cases in Nigeria. Well, you're still watching Trust TV News Update. Coming up after the break, preserving culture through arts. This and more after the break. Do stay with us.
Get latest updates on current topical issues and breaking news by downloading the Trust TV mobile app on your Android devices. Go online, click Google Play Store, search Trust TV, install the app, and get doses of unfiltered information on happenings all over the world in your pocket. Trust TV, documenting the Nigerian story.
Welcome back. You're still watching Trust TV News Hour. Let's take a look at some of our top stories. 97 kidnapped victims have regained freedom in Zamfara State. The kidnapped victims consist of 25 women, including 7 pregnant women, 10 children between the ages of 2 and 7. And Katsina Police Command has recovered 109 anti-aircraft ammunition and arrested 999 suspects in various operations across the state in 2021. And moving on to more news now, work has officially resumed on Tuesday after the long Yuletide holiday. However, activities at the Federal Secretariat in Abuja, where the bulk of government is run, are low. Trust TV's Aisha Salihu reports that some FCT residents expressed enthusiasm over work resumption. Her report.
Following resumption from the public holiday, the streets of Abuja are gradually filling up with people as civil servants, business owners and other workers return to their places of work and businesses.
I feel good per se, though ordinarily I should have needed an extended vacation, but be it as it may, it's good to resume. I've missed the work, and then also, you know, now we need money to run, and the earlier you start, the better. We just need to kickstart the new year, and we thank God that in His mercies, He has made us to see this wonderful year.
It's interesting returning back to work, and the holiday was so interesting and something everyone like to enjoy holidays. It's something that really give you a lot of time to rest. Though it wasn't much, but because the way the period fell, it was during the weekends. Normally you enjoy weekends, but in the course of this period, there was no enough time to rest. But however, it was fine.
It's normal. It's an annual event, and once in a while we embark on holidays and come back to face our normal assignments, which is the jobs we are doing. But only that the economy is very, very hard and things are very costly. Livelihood tends to be a fanfare for the riches. So that's the issue.
My expectations are very high. That this year I'll make progress in everything I do. That's my expectation.
I'm ready. The holiday was very exciting.
Although work begins immediately, these workers wish the holiday was longer. However, they're ready to resume their duties. Aisha Salihu, Trust TV News, Abuja.
Works of art have been an integral part of cultural evolution for many tribes and races across the world for decades, and have also been used as a means of cultural identification. Over the years, most people have moved to the usage of modern-day materials for clothing, furniture and decoration. However, other people have kept their love for ancient artworks and antiques intact. Chijoke Okafo now reports.
Everyday Nigerian market. But that is not the case. This might be a market, but its uniqueness makes it stand out. Artworks of wood, bronze, silver, ivory, gold and several other precious materials are on display in different stalls in this market. Interestingly, most of the artworks on display here are produced by hand by artists and craftsmen who dedicated their time to meticulously create these amazing designs.
My boss here, Mr. Chris, we carve when it's in a rough surface, then I shine it and make it plain, good looking. When we are done with sandpapering, then we use polish. The best polish we use is kiwi. I use this work to sponsor myself in school, and I got my result with the work. I'm well satisfied with it. So I still try to push further so that I will know more like my boss.
One good thing about most of these paintings, sculptures and drawings is the fact that they are made by mostly young men within the age bracket of 18 to 25, often learning or working under an older boss who supervises their works.
I've been making money from art enough to send me back to school. Because let me say, this piece of work now, if I'm true, I can sell this one at the rate of maybe 80 to 70,000 naira. If you see a good buyer. and they know about art. So it was a very good experience. They come to the market here. We have a shop where we keep our painting. So sometimes they used to come here and like, wow, I love your work. And they'll be like, this is not the only work we have. We can take it to our shop. And when they get there, they'll get inspired by our work. And they will see what they like there and negotiate on what they want.
People troop into this art market from different parts of the world, either to win the shop or to buy antiques for various purposes. However, some of them say the works of art are more expensive than they had imagined they would be.
I'm picking the foot mat and the tray also. So I use these ones actually to pack my clothes in my wardrobe. Then I have some also that I use for my laundry work, and I pack some for my tray. I'm a fashion designer, so I pack some for my trays and my lining and my finishings and all that. They're actually very, very nice, very beautiful, and it helps in beautifying your home. Because once you keep it and all that, once people enter your house, it's very welcoming, and when people come to your place, they love it. Actually, I don't like it before. My friend actually introduced me to the artwork, but when you get to her place, she have like this one's now. She's using it for her lamp holder and all that. It's not local, seriously. For people thinking it's local, it's not local. It's not even as cheap as I'm looking at it. So it's actually very, very nice for your space, for your house, for you can use it for anything.
The materials here are appreciated by art lovers, and both makers and buyers of these artworks share a major responsibility of ensuring that the culture and traditions embedded in these things are not forgotten. Chijoke Okafo, Trust TV News, Abuja.
President Muhammadu Buhari has appointed chairman of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, Doyin Salami, as the chief economic advisor to the president. Presidential spokesman Femi Adesina announced this in a statement issued on Tuesday. He said the chief economic advisor to the president is expected to address all issues on the domestic economy and present views on them to the president. He added that the advisor is also expected to closely monitor national and international developments, trends, and develop appropriate policy responses, develop and recommend to the president national economic policies to foster macroeconomic stability, promote growth, create jobs, and eradicate poverty, amongst others. Right now, we're being joined in the studio by Sunday Michael, that's the Deputy Business Editor, Daily Trust, to discuss this development. So you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
All right, sir. So it's just a couple of months to the end of the president's tenure.
Yeah.
And he's just now appointing a chief economic advisor. What impact can this appointment have on the remainder of the tenure that this administration has?
Your guess is as good as mine, but for the sake of the country,
yes,
we hope that there's still something that the new chief economic advisor can do, especially given the fact that he's not exactly new to the corridors of power. He was the chairman of the Presidential Economic Advisory Council, a committee of about 8 seasoned economists that the president put together to take over this role from the economic management team that was hitherto managed by the vice president, a lawyer, and the ministerial cabinet that was largely dominated by lawyers. It is good a thing, even though late in the day that they realized that this was one office, that should have been there from day one. It is also fair to acknowledge at this point that he was appointed someone as a special advisor to the president on the economy, but seconded to the office of the vice president. So I want to take it that it is merely a continuation of whatever role he has played at the Presidential Economic Advisory Council to now somebody who perhaps can have the opportunity to see the president on a daily basis, rather than a committee that saw the president once in a quarter, apparently maybe just four times in a year.
Exactly. So, well, the question begs to be asked. So for the past 6 years, who has been driving the train?
They've called it a different kind of names. So they had an economic management team. The presidency had always explained that the vice president is the chairman of the economic management team. And so I think the economy has largely been driven by the vice president. which is a radical departure from what we have always known with previous governments. Just to put it on record, Doyin Salami was appointed to play a similar role even in the days of President Erdogan, which is different from having a team that meets seasonally and makes it look like a committee recommendation where the outcome is either accepted or thrown away, as we have always seen, to somebody who does this on a daily basis and gets the opportunity to leave one or two advice on the table of the president. Perhaps the same way he takes security briefing, ideally, that is how you should take economic briefings on a daily basis. I mean, a summation of what happened the previous day based on the policy framework of the government and where they want to go, what should be the economic response to this thing. If Doyin Salami's life and he has always been in the public domain, he was a member of the Monetary Policy Committee of the Central Bank of Nigeria for between 2009 and 2017. And as a member of that committee, every member of the MPC had always had his own voice in the MPC votings about what should be done in the economy to drive this economy forward. He brought the same arguments, I'm sure, into the committee meeting, and you could see that to the outcomes of the PAC recommendations to the presidency to improve ease of doing business, to improve collaborations between key ministries of government. Because what we have seen is the government aspires to go forward, but every ministry seems to be doing its own thing. Exactly. They are not talking to each other. So we are duplicating function, duplicating effort, if you like, wasting resources on something that ordinarily we should be talking to ourselves about, synergizing and improving capacity or driving capacity along the lines that we should be improving the economy.
So being someone who was part of the economic team before, so we shouldn't expect a radical change in some policies that were actually brought forward by this administration. Is it just a continuation of all the...
Absolutely, because again, with the economy, you can't make very radical changes, right? At any rate, even the policies that you have hinted you want to pursue take some time to mature, take some time to impact on the economy and for people to begin to see fruits. So you don't just make pronouncements and the next day you see developments on the economy. It takes sometimes, it takes implementation. There's a gestation period, then implementation before the actual impacts of policies are felt. So imagine that we have dissipated energy in pursuing a set of policies, if there are, for instance, and having committed finances and all of that, you come in with something radical. It means you waste the remaining part of the life of this administration, just getting people to refocus on whatever new things you want to do. That would just be an effort in futility. So the easiest thing to do is to go for the low-hanging fruit. What are we already pursuing? Where can we add more steam? Where can we synergize to, more like we are approaching the finish lane. Exactly. How can we finish strongly? What can we do, for whatever the government want to do? What is the fiscal and monetary policy strategy to support all of those processes? Rather than on the one hand saying you want to grow the economy and grow exports, and then the same government in one fell swoop is closing borders, is shutting down. So it means there are no synergy, there are no collaboration. So perhaps his role, having been in the classroom and been on the monetary side and the fiscal side of the economy, is to then chip in, like they have said in his appointments, is to observe international trend and I'm sure local trend and advise the government on a daily basis. Exactly. Is to say, if we take this course of action, this is the implication for the economy, whether positive or negative, and then advise, strongly on what directions to go. Yeah.
Well, in your words, let's hope, for the sake of Nigeria, that he does have an impact with this appointment. So Sunday Michael, thank you very much. Is just a short term. Yes, exactly. So Sunday Michael, thank you very much.
It's my pleasure.
For coming up on the program.
Thank you.
All right. So right now, let's join Chamun Dabeng for more on business news.
Nigerian Maritime Administration and Safety Agency NIMASA has announced that it has begun a total digital manifest management regime for all vessels calling at the nation's seaports to reduce human interaction, improve efficiency and block revenue leakages. Director General of the agency, Bashir Jamo, said that the automation is aimed at improving efficiency, block revenue leakages and human contact to make the port attractive for business. Physical transactions concerning sailing certificates and cargo manifest processing are being phased out completely as the agency has called on stakeholders to embrace its initiative by visiting its portal. Contractor handling Zungeru hydroelectric power project Sino Hydro has assured that the $1.3 billion 700 megawatt electricity project will be commissioned in 4 phases this year. According to the deputy project manager Li Xiaoming, the first turbine, which will generate 175 megawatts, would be commissioned in the first quarter. The second turbine, which will also generate 175 megawatts, is expected to be commissioned in the second quarter, while the third turbine is expected to be commissioned in the third quarter and the fourth in December 2022. Zungeru will be the second largest hydroelectric power project in the country after the 760 megawatts Kainji power project. It is also one of the biggest power projects in Africa for which government secured a loan facility from the Export-Import Bank, Exim Bank of China. Board of Development Bank of Nigeria, DBN, will be asking its shareholders for permission to issue 100 billion naira bonds. The board of DBN is set to hold an extraordinary general meeting, EGM, on Tuesday, January 25th, 2022, in Abuja to get clearance to issue the bonds. At the EGM, DBN will also seek approval to borrow 25 million euros green credit line by way of subordinated loan agreement for a 10-year tenure. The financial institution will equally apply for a grant of 500,000 euros from the KFW Development Bank for on-lending through participating financial institutions to the micro, small and medium-scale enterprises for investment in renewable energy and energy-efficient products. Federal government will on Tuesday commence collection of income tax on bonds and short-term securities. This comes after the expiration of a 2012 gazette which exempted companies' income tax (CIT) from bonds and short-term securities in the past 10 years. Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) last month introduced a 0.025% charge on fixed income bond secondary market transactions, which was expected to become effective on the 4th of January 2022. President Chartered Institute of Brokers CIS Olatunde Amolegbe said the introduction of the policy by the Apex Capital regulator would bring significant regulation to the market. Reacting to the developments, Chartered Institute of Stockbrokers CIS and the Association of Securities Dealing Houses of Nigeria ASHON expressed support for the move by the federal government. Area 2 Command of the Nigeria Customs Service in Onne Port says it generated 188.64 billion naira from January to December 2021 in revenues compared to the 69.68 billion naira it generated in 2020. In a statement, the Customs Area Controller of the Command, Comptroller Awal Mohammed, commended the officers for their efforts in revenue collection, enforcement and trade facilitation. Mohammed warned that the command in 2022 will deal with those who perpetrate crimes such as smuggling, adding that their cargo will be seized and they face risk of arrest for prosecution in accordance with the Customs and Excise Management Act. According to him, 34 seizures worth a total duty of 11.98 billion naira were made in 2021, and prominent among the seizures was 1,387 cartons of tramadol. That's all for business news. I am Chamun Dabeng.
And on the foreign scene, Sudanese security forces fired tear gas at anti-coup protesters in Khartoum. Now let's join Chijuke Okafo for more news on the international scene.
Sudanese security forces fired tear gas at anti-coup protesters in Khartoum, chanting slogans against the military days after the resignation of the country's civilian premier, witnesses said. Protesters on Tuesday shouted, "No, no to military rule," and called for the disbandment of Sudan's ruling council, headed by General Abdel Fattah al-Burhan, who led an October 25th coup that derailed a transition to civilian rule. Tens of thousands of people have continued taking to the streets despite a heavy security crackdown that has killed at least 57 protesters and wounded hundreds since the coup. UN Secretary-General Antonio Guterres is calling for meaningful dialogue between all Sudanese parties to reach an inclusive, peaceful, and lasting solution. Palestinian prisoners held without trial or charge have launched a boycott of Israel's military courts in the occupied West Bank, as prisoner groups warn that one detainee on hunger strike faces imminent danger of death. In an escalatory step agreed by Palestinian political parties, the 500 administrative detainees began New Year by refusing to show up for their court sessions. The boycott includes the initial hearings to uphold the administrative detention order, as well as appeal hearings and later sessions at the Supreme Court. They also noted that Israel's use of the policy has expanded in recent years to include women, children, and elderly people. The boycott comes as the health of Hisham Abu Hawash on his 141st day on hunger strike on Tuesday in protest against his administrative detention since October 2020 continues to severely deteriorate. The 40-year-old is the latest in a string of prisoners who in recent months have refused food and water to demand their freedom. Many of them reached a critical stage and were hospitalized for long periods until Israeli authorities agreed to release them on a fixed date. President of Mozambique, Philip Nyusi, and his wife, Isaura Nyusi, have tested positive for COVID-19. President Nyusi announced this in a statement on his Facebook page on Monday night, where he revealed that he and his wife were asymptomatic. He said they are self-isolating in accordance with health guidelines while they await definitive PCR test results. Authorities in India's capital, New Delhi, have ordered people to stay indoors over the coming weekends in an attempt to contain a fresh surge in COVID-19 cases. The announcement on Tuesday comes as the country reports another 37,379 new COVID-19 cases in the past 24 hours, its highest total since early September. Those infected include Chief Minister of Delhi, Arvind Kejriwal, who said in a Twitter post he is suffering mild symptoms. Kejriwal, who addressed an election rally in the state of Uttarakhand on Monday, said he is self-isolating at home and urged those in contact with him in the past few days to get tested. Neither the chief minister nor any of the people seen sharing the diyas with him during the rally wore masks. The city's deputy chief minister, Manish Sisodia, said on Tuesday the government is fully prepared to fight any COVID situation. And more than 200,000 people died across India last spring after a wave of Delta variant infections that brought the healthcare system to its knees.
And now let's join Adeni Ajishafe for the latest sports news.
Hello and welcome to Sport News. Ahead of the FIFA Under-20 Women's World Cup qualifier, Nigeria's Women Under-20 coach Chris Danjuma has invited 26 players against Junior Lioness match. The Nigerian side defeated Central African Republic over the two legs, while they also won over Congo Brazzaville 4-0 in the first leg, before Congo withdrew in the second leg. Coach Danjuma invited skipper Oluwatosin Dimehi, goalkeeper Omini Monle, Basirat Amo, and extra Oyenezide, Rofiat Imran, Deborah Abiodun, Blessing Okpe, Precious Vincent, among others. Cameroon will host the first leg in Douala on the 23rd of January, while the second leg will take place at the Mobolaji Johnson Arena 2 weeks later. The winner over the two legs will face the winner in Senegal-Morocco match for a place in the World Cup slated for August in Costa Rica. Leicester City midfielder Wilfred Ndidi, Everton forward Alex Iwobi, Kenneth Omeru, William Troost-Ekong, Semi Ajayi, Ola Aina, Kelechi Nwakali, Kelechi Iheanacho, and Frank Onyeka are in Abuja ahead of the team's final training session today, while others are expected to join the team before their departure to Cameroon on Wednesday. Players in camp are goalkeepers Francis Uzoho, John Noble, Daniel Akpeyi, Maduka Okoye, while the defenders are Chidozie Awazim, Kenneth Omeruo, Oluwashemilogo Ajayi, William Troost-Ekong, Olaoluwa Aina, Zaidu Sanusi, and Olisa Unda. In the midfield, you have Frank Oyeka, Refren Indidi, Chidera Ejuke, Kelechi Nwakali, while the forwards are Ahmed Musa, the captain, Henry Onyekuru, Moses Simon, Sadiq Umar, Taiwo Awoni, Alex Iwobi, Kelechi Iheanacho, Peter Olayinka. Meanwhile, 5 players are expected to hit camp ahead of the Cameroon journey. The likes of Jamilu Collins, Tyrone Ebuehi, Joseph Ayodele Aribo, Samuel Chukwueze, and Odion Jude Igalo. 2021 Africa Cup of Nations will commence on January 9th and ends on 6th of February 2022. Super Eagles' first group opener against Egypt holds on January 11th before taking on Sudan and Guinea-Bissau on 15 and 19 respectively. And from tennis, Naomi Osaka had a winning comeback after 4 months with victory in the first round of the Melbourne Somerset event. Australia Open defending champion took an indefinite break from tennis after a third-round defeat at September US Open. She beat Frances Alize Cornet 6-4, 3-6, 6-3, where she had 57 unforced errors, including 8 double faults, to set up a meeting with Belgium's Marina Zanuska. That's sport news. I am Adeniyi Ajishafe.
And that wraps up Trust TV News Hour for tonight. Don't forget to subscribe and follow us across all our social media platforms. I am Ibrahim Yusuf. Thanks for watching.